There's only so much that you can do waiting for the pendulum to swing back the other way. You got to make your own luck. You got to find a way to come through. And this team just simply has not done that outside of one game this entire season. One Royal Way back at it here on Kansas City Sports Network. I'm Joel Penfield. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm recording this not too long after the gut punch loss to the Tigers on Tuesday night. Didn't really plan to talk about the games too much one way or the other, but I think with the way the game went, I'll do a recap and some thoughts on that. So I kind of scrapped the early part of my rundown here. And it goes right into the continued struggles with the offense, inability to drive runners in when it matters. And so I'm going to try and look at a couple different ways that they might be able to change up the lineup to see if they can shake the snow globe somehow, because clearly whatever's going on right now isn't working. Right hand, left hand, it doesn't matter who's pitching. The offense just isn't good enough right now, and I know that I'll dive into that a little more later. And just try and find some more news and notes here. The little tricky with the Isaac Collins leaving in the first inning of this game. Don't quite know they said it was a knee contusion, but I don't know if that's going to be an IL stint, if it's just going to be a day-to-day. I don't know if they make a move to Omaha, but we'll look into that. And then I'll look at the injury report and give some updates there as well. Before we get into all that, if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to go like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Be sure to, on the audio side, be sure you're subscribed over there as well with the notification bells on, and leave a 5-star review on either Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. We really do appreciate that. And like I said, and make sure you have notifications on so you know when live post games go, when this show goes up, when Royals Pipeline goes up. We got a lot of great content coming your way all season long, wins or losses. And I'm wearing this, if you're watching this, if you're audio only here, I'm wearing one of the City Connect hoodies. I got it over the weekend when I was at the ballpark. I like it. It's a little different, not a color I'm frankly used to wearing, but it's growing on me. I kind of like it. Before we get into, and one last thing here, the show is always brought to you by Emprise Bank. Remember, FDIC, our partners in possible here at Kansas City Sports Network. We can't thank them enough for their support over the last few seasons here. So the Royals lose on Tuesday night, first game of the series against the Tigers, 2-1. Pretty well pitched game between Framber Valdez and Cole Ragans. Ragans really didn't have his best stuff tonight, but was able to grind through 6, with only 1 strikeout, 4 walks, only gave up 1 hit, no runs. Got some key ground balls, bared down when he needed to, had a couple of really efficient innings that kept the pitch count down, allowed him to get into the 6th, and that is with an inning where he threw nearly 30 pitches. So not a vintage Cole Ragans start, but it's the mark of a good pitcher to me when you have a guy that does not have his best stuff, right? It's his C or D stuff, and they find a way to grind and keep their team in the game, and the game doesn't get away from them. And that didn't happen tonight. So I give Cole a lot of credit. It's not the stereotypical start we're used to with him, with the high strikeout numbers, some walks here and there, but really he's able to make up for it with the swing and miss and strikeouts, and he really didn't have that today. Really lacked some command with the fastballs. Imagine still feeling maybe some of the effects of the getting hit on the hand last week with the comebacker in Cleveland, but found a way to get into the 6th, and Schramm gives you a strong 7th, and you feel like, okay, with a 1-0 lead, they're going to have to grin and bear it and hang on, and they couldn't. Nick Mears gives up a double. Wild pitch eventually scores Zach McKinstry, and then Dylan Dingler. And after a walk, Dylan Dingler doubles. McGonigal scores 2-1, and you lose the game. And it's a recurring theme for the Royals to this point in the season. 17 games into the year. But it's not an overreaction to say this team has one way to win. The only way that this team can win a ball game is they pray that they can scratch 3 across and hope it's enough. It's the only way they've been able to win games this year. But when you just look at the run total numbers, and that's not an exact science, I understand that. But this is what we're looking at with this offense so far. Through all the peripherals, everything I talked about, right? And these are your run outputs so far in 17 games. 0, 2, 4, 3. And then you get into April 13. Fair to say that's an outlier. 1 the next day. 2, 8, second game of a doubleheader. 5, you still lost that one. 4, 1, 2, and the 1 was the loss they gave up in the ninth inning. 0, 2, 2, 5, still lost, and 1. The offense simply is not good enough right now. In any fashion. They have done a better job taking pitches and working counts, but it's not coming through in the results. And with runners in scoring position, they've been awful. Bobby got stranded once again in scoring position. You had the bases loaded, only get 1 across. It was nice to get the 1 against Framber, but you definitely felt like it should have been more. And the only run that was scored, it was a fielder's choice. You had a chance for more, couldn't get through. You had the tying run on base in the ninth inning on third with 1 out, and Vinny Weekly grounds out, and then Charlie Marte pops up. You had your opportunities, and you couldn't come through again. And I know Framber Valdez is really good, right? Like, he's been a great pitcher in this league for the better part of a half decade. Still can't get anything across. I mean, the good pitcher excuse doesn't go too far. Like, every once in a while, yeah, there are just certain days where they just have your number, and it's 6 shutout with 10 strikeouts, and no one was touching him that day. That wasn't the case with Framber. He had to labor through 7. He only had 1 strikeout. It's just he's going to beat balls into the ground, and the Royals just did exactly what he wanted them to do the entire game. He wanted them to try and force the issue and hit the ball on the ground, and that's surely what happened. But it's just at a point where, like, where is going to be the turning point? Right? I don't know what it's going to be, because as I talked about last week, and it still rings true, that the hard hit rate, the walk rate, the ability to not chase, barrel stuff, those are generally predictive of good offense, but clearly not with this team right now. Like, there's nothing predictive about it. They hit the ball hard all they want, and it doesn't matter, because they can't come through with a hit of any sort when it matters. Another game where I don't believe they had a single hit with runners in scoring position. I'm going to verify that, but I don't think they had one today. Because I don't believe Carter's was ruled a hit. It might have been, but no, it was not, because it was a fielder's choice. So another offer with runners in scoring position in this game with 5 left on. That's 3 hits in your last 30, 40 something at bats now at this point. There's only so much that you can do waiting for the pendulum to swing back the other way. You got to make your own luck. You got to find a way to come through. And this team just simply has not done that outside of 1 game this entire season. And this team is going to have to fix it fast. Otherwise, there's going to be a fall guy somewhere. Someone's going to pay the consequences for this offense not being good enough. We may look up in a week and this was the come to Jesus moment and they get it figured out. Or this time next week, we're still talking about the same song and dance, and I'm having to scrap to try and find positive things to talk about, because the Royals lost another game 3-1, and they lost another game 4-2 and 2-0. Because I know this pitching staff is going to keep this team in a lot of games. They did it last year, and there were a lot of games just like this with this offense. We're a long way away from what we saw in 2024. This is just what we are seeing right now is simply a continuation of an offense that was not great in big moments and when they needed to scratch runs across last season. Had some great individual years, certainly, but as a team offense, when the chips were down, they had a really hard time finding that big hit. And through 17 games this year, that continues to be the case. It's frustrating because this team is too talented to have games like this continuously, and to lose games first the exact same way multiple times to begin this year, where your pitching staff gives you an opportunity, they pitch well enough to keep you in the game, and you can't come up with a hit. You can't string a couple together, can't pop one over the fence to try and make your own luck. And in a game like tonight, like, I'm not saying that Nick Mears bathed himself in glory. He didn't. He didn't pitch well. But for that to be the situation and it be a one-run game and you're holding on tight and the guy goes up 2 runs, yeah, like, pitchers give up runs sometimes. It happens. Like, games like that happen. A wild pitch in the game. Okay. If it was a 4-1 game, okay, hey, that's rough, but hey, we still got a lead. That was the game right there. It was tied right there. Were we even sure that the Royals would have been able to come up with a run in a tie game in the 9th inning? I don't know. Kenley Jansen or not, I'm not sure. And that was with the middle of the order coming up. The guys that you should rely on to be able to go and score runs, and they couldn't do it. We're going to go ahead and take our first break. And on the other side of this, talk about maybe some lineup stuff, some things that potential fixes in that regard, to maybe just shake things up a little bit and see maybe a change in the lineup a little bit will spark things. We'll talk about that right after this.
I'm Brett Goodwin, one of the owners of The Learning Tree. The Learning Tree is a neighborhood toy store in Prairie Village, Kansas. This has been here in this location since 2000s, and my husband Alan and I purchased the store in 2023. Alan and I grew up in families where we've always wanted to have a business together. Alan grew up, for instance, his parents had a jewelry store. I worked in a local toy store here in Prairie Village when I was growing up. When this opportunity happened in 2023, we knew right away we wanted to contact them and pursue the store. We wouldn't have been able to get the store without the team at Emprise Bank. From the day we contacted them, they knew what we needed to do, which was very helpful. I would absolutely recommend the team at Emprise Bank to anyone looking to secure a business. We worked with Emprise from day one. They were extremely helpful. They were always great resources. We talk to them frequently. They know the area. They're very friendly. We know who we're going to talk with, and they know what we need to do. We hope we'll see you at the Learning Tree.
David Starnes Allstate Insurance is a proud partner of KC Sports Network, serving the Kansas City area and all throughout the Midwest. If you are looking for new coverage or something that better suits your home, auto, health, or any of your other insurance needs, give Dave and his team a call. Elevate your coverage and be worry-free with David Starnes Allstate Insurance.
You know that moment, the one when you realize you left your favorite sunglasses at the beach or on the roof of your car or at the gas station 3 states away. Well, I've been there too. I lose stuff very frequently, so the deal that this company runs is very great, and but then I found Shady Rays, and it changed the game. Sunglasses are made for real life, seriously good-looking, polarized, durable, and not stupidly expensive. Here's the wild part. If you lose them or break them, even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair. No guilt trip, just replacements. So now I can actually wear my sunglasses without fear on hikes, at concerts, on a boat, wherever. Weather's getting warm. Time to go out to Kauffman Stadium. They'll be back in town next week against the Orioles and the Angels. You're in those sun seats on the first base side. Make sure to bring your sunglasses there, or if you're out in the outfield, you're definitely going to need them out there in right center. You're out there at the new little party porch out there. You'll need your sunglasses, even for the beginning of a night game. They have sunglasses for golfing, fishing, hiking, and biking, even sunglasses for kids. Shady Rays is eyewear that has your back. Go to shadyrays.com and use code KCSN for 40% off 2 pairs of polarized sunglasses. I am not going to sit and pretend that I'm an expert on lineup construction, on trying to figure things out, because this offense might just be what it is, and there isn't much fixing of it. But what I have seen is this team just can't come through. There are 2 of the hitters that they rely on with runners on are Vinny Pasquantino and Salvador Perez. And both have been abysmal with runners in scoring position thus far this year. Bobby's been on base 31 times this year. He has scored one time. He has touched home plate once this year, and on base 31 times in 17 games. That is an unfathomable stat. So, got to change things up. No, the change is not sending Vinny to Omaha. He's not going there. He has had too much big league production for that to be the case. The guy has to figure it out. He's going to figure it out at the big league level. Because I don't think going and hitting 370 in Omaha for 2 weeks is going to help fix him either. When it comes to Salvi, he's 36. This may just be the end of the line. Hopefully, they're both able to come out of it. And if they come out of it, it changes the calculus. But right now, we just have to run with what's in front of us. So, I've tried to look at a couple different ways that I think this lineup might be able to shift a little bit. And maybe it'll move things around. I don't know if it works. No one important listens to this show, so it's not like this is going to exact change. But we've seen them make major pivots to the lineup in the last couple of years. If you just go back to 2024, Michael led off pretty much the entire year. And at that time, he was one of the worst qualified hitters in all of baseball. So at that point, do you just dance with the girl you brought and you let him lead off in the playoffs? And instead, Michael Massey led off for multiple of those games in the playoffs in 2024. So they changed things up a little bit to try and get a little bit of a spark and move Mikey down. And, it worked. And won a playoff series doing that, right? Last year, they bring in Jonathan India to be the leadoff hitter. It didn't work. It didn't work the way that they thought. So after the trade deadline, when you bring in Mikey Stremski, they made a decision to start platooning the leadoff spot with Mikey Stremski leading off against right-handed pitching and Michael Garcia leading off against left-handed pitching. And the offense took off a little bit, and it worked. It moved Jonathan India down, gave him more opportunities with runners in scoring position, and the offense took a step up. It still wasn't a great offense, but we saw improvement with it, right? And it was the reason why they were able to keep themselves afloat and keep themselves in the playoff race until the last couple of weeks. So what are some changes that we could see that maybe they would make? Theoretically. I didn't make major drastic changes, maybe one a little bit, but it's more of a wish casting than anything. First one, when we saw this a couple of times at the end of last year, once they were basically out of it, we saw Carter Jensen lead off a few times. And for a guy that, he's a kind of high on base type, a guy that is willing to work counts, and is liable to go bridge at just about any point. We've seen that. A guy that can hunt fastballs and be aggressive early in counts. It's kind of interesting. So in the leadoff spot, it was just 2 games, but he went 3 for 11 and had an 818 OPS. And I think the 3 hits were the 3 doubles against the Blue Jays. So it's a really small sample, but he's done it before. Maybe you shift him up there for a game against a righty. See if maybe he can spark the offense, right? Take advantage of a pitcher trying to get ahead. And, he can turn and burn on a heater, and it's 1-0. And then you have Bobby after that. And go Michael hit third. Then Vinny clean up. Salvi fifth, and then Jack sixth. Something like that. I'm not going to do the full line just because we kind of know what the bottom of the order is. Like Izzy's going to hit 9. Some combination of Collins, India, Tolbert, Lofton. Yeah, we kind of know Thomas, Starling. Like we kind of know how those things are going to work. But it is at least interesting to think about. And I don't think that would be a permanent fix, but maybe just, who knows? Like Alcides Escobar in the leadoff spot was an experiment, right? And it ended up paying dividends. Maybe this is the one that can do it. A guy that's willing to work counts. He can walk when he, is a little more selective, and he can be instant offense. Kyle Schwarber has been the leadoff hitter for the Phillies for a while. Like guys like that are power hitters and are very authoritative, not your prototypical leadoff hitter. It is a way to strike fear and put some damage on the board early and put a little doubt in starting pitcher's head from jump. That could be the way to do it. And then it moves Mike Hell down, and I know that he likes hitting in the leadoff spot. But I do think it would be interesting to put him in opportunities with more runners on base, in theory, because he's been really good this year. He's been the one guy really unaffected by all the WBC stuff. He hasn't missed a beat. So that could be one way to do it. Another one I thought of, and I talked a little bit about this with Kevin over the weekend, who talked about some lineup construction stuff as well. This was one that I brought up and thought about a little bit more as, I thought about it a little bit when I was driving home from work today about still keep Michael in the leadoff spot. I think that is his best place for this team right now. He enjoys hitting there. He's a good table setter. He's willing to work walks. He works counts really well. Ability to go deep, when he's able to really elevate on the ball pull side. He's not looking to go deep, but he can, right? So you have some instant offense there. And then have Carter Jensen his second. And again, a bit of instant offense. A guy willing to work a walk. And a guy that will hammer mistake pitches in the strike zone. Because if you're hitting in front of Bobby Witt Jr., they're not gonna walk you. They don't want to put a guy on in front of Bobby Witt Jr. That could be a guy that could really take advantage of seeing pitches in the strike zone, potentially seeing fastballs in the strike zone. And they just kind of hope that maybe he gets himself out. Well, if you throw a fastball on a leverage count, when in a hitter leverage count, Carter Jensen will park it. And then you maybe have 2 on with 1 out, or it's 2-0, and then Bobby comes up with nobody on. Right? But at least you got some offense there. Slides Bobby down to 3, and this is kind of bold, but why not hit Jack 4? Just see what happens. Give him a little bit of protection. It's interesting. And it may be a situation that as Jack continues to get better, and I've been intrigued by some of the stuff that I've seen with Jack recently. I looked at some of the numbers today that show, okay, things are heading in the right direction for him. And let's be honest, like Vinny and Salvi hitting 4-5 have been worse than Jack. I know things haven't been all stellar with Jack. It's not all sunshine and roses for him, but we see the progress. And I think most fans that watch these games see the progress that he's made from last year to this year. Looks way more comfortable, puts together better plate appearances. He's hitting the ball on the line a lot more, less ground balls. The strikeouts lefty are a bit of a concern, and we got to figure out that, is he, hopefully, I don't think he's a strict platoon guy, but right now it's been a little dicey. That's why he wasn't in the lineup today. I wish he would have pinch hit in the 9th, but I'm not the manager. But it's kind of one of those, like, screw it, let's just see if it works sort of things. I don't think it would, but it couldn't hurt and it couldn't be worse than what we're currently seeing right now, which then bumps Vinny down to 5 and Salvi to 6. So I think that's a pretty realistic number. Or you can go Salvi 5, Vinny 6 if you wanted to break up righty-lefty, but I'm not as worried about that. With the 3-batter minimum, I'm not as concerned about that. And then you have platoon. It allows for, platoon opportunities there on the other side of it. I'm not going to sit here and say that would fix it. I do think it's interesting, though. But really, and I tried to think of at least a third and maybe a fourth of, okay, what other moves could they make? How else could they do this thing? Maybe you could hit Bobby leadoff, but I think Michael is way more suited for it. They tried the Bobby leadoff thing, and that was granted, that was year 2. That was Bobby still trying to establish himself in the big leagues, but it really didn't work. I don't know if I want to put that pressure back on him again. He's been way more comfortable hitting 2-3 for the last few years. I think that's just the way that it has to go. The problem right now is those are the only 2 scenarios that I find relatively feasible. Like we talk, the analogy I've used the last couple of years is shaking the snow globe, right? Like you shake the snow globe and the snow comes and, it changes the scene. It changes the picture a little bit. And, it gives, there's not much snow to shake with this team right now. Like what other realistic options does this team have to make a move and to really try and change up this lineup to try and make the offense go a little bit? There really isn't much. because you're not going to want to give every day at bats to Lane Thomas. He hasn't proven he can handle that. He got a hit tonight, which is great. I think he's it's 4 hits on the year, and he has 2, and I think maybe 2 of those are against lefties, when that's his job is to hit left-handed pitching. Starling Marte is 37. He's not an everyday player. Maybe getting Michael Massey some more regular at-bats makes a difference, but we kind of know what Michael Massey is, and he's a fine player. But I don't think he's an everyday guy, at least not right now. I don't think they're going to move Jonathan India back up to the leadoff spot. He's doing a good job working counts and plate appearances this year, but still hitting $1.70. That's not going to do it in the leadoff spot, because you want your leadoff guy to be able to put the ball in play too and make contact that way and not just pray for a walk. And they're certainly not going to put Kyle Isbell near the top. I thought maybe Isaac Collins could be a high on base guy, but at the top of the order. But that was a little ambitious on my end. But then when you look at AAA, there aren't a ton of options there either that are like major difference makers. Like Josh Rojas, Kevin Newman, Brandon Drury. Those guys are big leaguers. Like, they're fine. But they're not going to come up and spark your offense. Cameron Meisner maybe can pop you a couple of homers, but the big league track record for him is a lot of strikeouts and swing and miss. And then Gavin Cross has been a 0 in Omaha so far. I'll pull up those numbers. But as far as I know, last I saw, the OPS number started with a 3, so it can't be great. In 12 games in Omaha right now, Gavin Cross is hitting 095, 208, 095 with 18 strikeouts and 48 plate appearances. That's a 304 OPS. That's not a big league option either. So suffice to say, this team is going to have to figure it out with the dudes that are currently in the big leagues, the dudes that are currently on this roster. And they're going to have to mix and match something to try and make it work. Because the offense is clearly stagnated right now, despite some of the positive peripheral stuff. And I know that people hate hearing about that because it doesn't show up in the box score. I recognize that. I try and give a more nuanced view of it because this game is way too difficult to just be, just married to what we see on the box score, because sometimes it doesn't always tell the truth. Tonight it did. Simply. They're going to have to figure something out. I don't know what exactly it's going to be. We'll see how they show up tomorrow. Seth Lugo on the mound, right-handed pitcher on the mound, and Jack Flaherty, I believe, is going. So you're going to get, at that point, Jack will get back in the lineup. They'll get Izzy back in the lineup at the bottom of the order, a more normal-looking right-handed lineup. But I'm curious what happens tomorrow, because I don't know if Vinny and Salvi are going to hit 3. Maybe they just run it back just for continuity's sake. But at a certain point, it just becomes the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. That's what this has been for the majority of this season and, somewhat of last year too. And I do think Connor Dawson and Marcus Thames have made a difference, but how much, at least right now? We'll see. Still a lot of baseball to be played. A lot can change between now and June, but this team is currently digging themselves a hole that they're going to have to play out of once again into May and into the summer. And we just hope that this isn't what's going to sink them right now for a team with this high of expectation. I do want to give a shout to the starting staff, who has been very, very good. Cole did not have his best stuff tonight. But for him to be able to grind through 6 innings, I think is a level of maturity as a pitcher that, shows that growth. Because he only had 4 swings and misses today. Right? The called strike whiff percentage was 17%. I mean, that's well below average. He only got 1 swing and miss on 21 of his 4-seamers. The changeup is a big swing and miss pitch. It was 2 out of 10. It was just not great. It was about, an average fastball for him. Metrically, I don't see anything in the velo or the spin metrics of the fastball. I think like it was a bad game. The Tigers had a really good game plan against him. They didn't let him blow anything by him, but he still found a way to grind through, and he deserved much better than a no decision today. He didn't deserve to take that. Strong gave you a pretty decent 7th. Nick Mears didn't get a swing and miss. That is a bit of a concern. The fastball is really good, and metrically it's really good. 18, 19 inches of induced vertical break on it, but he does not get a lot of swing and miss on it because it's 93 or 94, right? Maybe he's able to build up a little more velo as the game goes, but the changeup is a nice weapon for him to go along with the slider. It's just a matter of finding that right mix. But from what I've seen from Nick Mears so far, I think he's a good reliever and is going to end up being a decent arm for this team for the next couple of years. And today didn't work out, but I'm not deterred by what I've seen here or, coming into a really bad situation on, kind of a situation no pitcher wants to go into, bases loaded, in a tie game or a 1-run game. It's not ideal. Some of that was just the he had to clean up Noah Cameron's mess, couldn't quite do it, but still ended up getting out of the inning. Let's go do an injury update real quick on Royals.com here. Let's see what Andy Rogers has here. So it was officially listed as a right knee contusion for Isaac Collins. I imagine we will know more tomorrow afternoon. But we have not seen. He was limping pretty good, walking off the field with the trainer. So I don't imagine he will be in the lineup. I don't think this is going to be a situation where we see him for another day or so. I don't think it'll be an IL stint. It really just depends on how much it really affects his ability to run. I think that will be the biggest part of this because he has to move the outfield. Stephen Kolek threw 4 innings at a rehab assignment today, actually. So I want to go and see how that looked. So Stephen Kolek, 4 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 2 strikeouts, 1 walk. It's about what I would expect. Imagine he gets a couple more and then see where it goes. But I don't imagine he stays in Omaha too long. I think they need outs, right? So there's that. Carlos Estevez still on the injured list, resuming throwing at Kaufman after a recent illness. Still expected to return late April, but nothing definitive yet. Same with Bailey Falter. Threw a second bullpen and is scheduled for a rehab assignment tomorrow. And nothing else really, for guys that are close to being on team. And then Ryan Berger, I believe it was right elbow inflammation was what I saw. So that's not ideal at all. That was a guy that you were hoping would be able to come up to Kansas City and pitch this year. But when you see that type of injury, that probably means it's going to be a few weeks until he's maybe even throwing again. And then who knows? But a lot of times, I think there was the similar injury for Hunter Brown of the Astros, and he's completely shut down from throwing for at least 2 to 3 weeks, and then they reevaluate. So going to be something to monitor, a situation to monitor with Ryan Berger as a guy that we thought could be some potential depth for this team as we go forward. I think that's going to do it for tonight. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I know it's not ideal coming off a loss like that. But there's still 2 more games in the series. We'll have live post-game shows on Friday and on Sunday for the Yankees series. And we will talk soon, everyone. Have a great one. Take care. Stay off Twitter. Go for a walk. Don't scream into the void nearly as much. Have a great one, everybody.